to take victory in the next round on the short circuit at Silverstone. Tim Harvey and Andy Rouse trailing in just a second and a half behind. And this was the round where John Cleland suffered a blow to his overall championship hopes after losing a wheel. The championship, after all its dramas, was settling into a mid-season pattern. Sittner agreed to give his support to Weaver's championship challenge, and in the Silverstone Grand Prix round, an emphatic victory for Andy Rouse. The really close racing in this round was back down the field.
But who is going to be 10th? At Stowe it's Mike Smith, or is it because Jerry Marnie's going through? It's Marnie 10th at the moment. Smith on the right. In car with Marnie. Smith is gaining. Smith goes through. Club corner now. And Smith is ahead. It's Smith in the red-white car, 10th. Marnie behind him in 11th position. Coming up to Abbey for the last time, and Marnie is going for it. He can come out of Smith's slipstream. He's doing it. Down through the gearbox. Marnie ahead. Smith coming through to take him on the outside. He's going to go very wide indeed. Marnie's got the inside line. He hits Smith. Smith shakes his fist. But Mike Smith takes that 10th position, no doubt about it, into the chicane, out of the chicane. Mike Smith in 10th position. And now let's have a look at it again from Jerry Marnie's point of view. Racing up to Bridge with Mike Smith on the right at 145 miles an hour. He looks right. Where is he? He looks left and he's there. Mike Smith on the left. Bang! He hits him. But overall, a superb win for Andy Rouse, with Rob Gravett consolidating his class lead in the championship. And a super comeback drive for Guy Edwards, ahead of teammates Tim Harvey and Lawrence Bristow, with at last a points finish for Graham Good.
So the overall championship coming into round 8, the first of the Brands Hatch rounds. A 2-point gap between Weaver and Cleland, Dowsett hanging on from Class D in third, and Rob Gravett leading Class A, but 15 points adrift overall. But Gravett was on pole at Brands, he headed the race, but his teammate was heavily involved behind. Tiff Niddell, the commentator.
Down on the Grand Prix circuit, then Gravett getting way out front, but now it's Harvey ahead of Smith. Rouse breathing easy. No, through. Smith comes back. He wants that third place straight back again, and he takes it off of Harvey. Running a bit wide there, and Harvey maybe looking to get the place back. They touch, and Smith punted sideways. Harvey and he both head to the gravel trap, and well, that's a great shame to lose. Look, a very promising battle between these two drivers out so early in the race. Mike Smith there, not getting out yet. Maybe, yes, he is going to try and escape from the gravel, but there's no escape from those gravel traps. We see it again now in slow motion. Smith a little bit slow out of Hawthorne's there because he did that overtaking manoeuvre, but Harvey not really getting even alongside in the braking zone before there's contact between the two. And really, I think Tim was being a bit over-ambitious there. Smith had the line. There we see Tim Harvey now clambering over the tyre. Well, I'm sure they'll both have very, very different versions of what's just happened. But and into the tyre barriers, 2 BMWs. That was Godfrey Hall, I think, first in. That's the top of Paddock Hill, and a very bent BMW for Ian Forrest. That right at the top of Paddock Hill bend. There's tyres and debris all over the circuit. I should imagine this could well be a red situation, really. Those cars are going to take some moving. Ian Forrest, thankfully, getting out and walking away from his bent BMW, and Godfrey Hall already out of his car, and there you can see the damage, and I think this race will have to be stopped. Indeed, yes, there's the red flag that's shown at the start-finish line. They only show the red flag at the start-finish line. Drivers are warned about it by the black flag there being waved, and they won't be doing any overtaking now. In car with Jerry Marnie being overtaken once, but overtaken twice.
Black flag though, man. You don't have to brand me. You know, right, just hit me. I'll get black flag.
I think Jerry's got the message over to his fellow competitors. Here we see the excellent rescue services in action, but here we see Godfrey Hall heading towards the barriers. The wheels actually were locked up from well before impact, and I think coming over the slight crest at Paddock, the cars do go light. He probably locked his rear wheels and lost control. Now back to the gravel trap. These cars, if they can get them back on the grid, could be re-racing.
Well, we're going to see if we can get another chance. I guess. I don't know what the rules are, we're going to check on it, but if I can get this back, we will get going again. That was a stupid manoeuvre on Tim's part. I'd have never seen him driving like that.
He wants it all his own way. He wants to have the room to overtake, but he doesn't want it to give the room anybody else. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm not the first person to have clashed swords with Mike Smith this year, and I don't suppose I'll be the last. It's just amazing how often he's involved, and it's never his fault.
Well, every driver always has his opinion, and here we see this slow motion again, and certainly Smith is ahead, he's on the right line, and it's Harvey that batters the wing of Smith's car just really at the beginning of the braking area. This time it really was Mike's line, I'm afraid, Tim.
Restart race, once again Gravett out front, and Mike Smith mounting a really strong challenge on Andy Rouse.
Through Druitt's bumper to bumper. Smith really driving a very sensible race at the moment. He's waiting for Rouse to maybe slide a little wide once too often, and he's going to be through here in a good position to overtake up to 30s. But no, Rouse, I said no, but Mike Smith sees an opportunity, saw the door left open. He didn't refuse the invitation. In he goes. In car with Andy Rouse, dropped down to third place. This long haul, the only straight you really get at Brands Hatch, fifth gear as they approach Hawthorns, down to fourth. Into this 110 mile an hour corner. Rouse accelerating hard now in fourth. He's going to brake and drop Westfield. Smith easing away all the time. So really that was a good overtaking manoeuvre, very cleanly done by Mike Smith, and he's up into an excellent, he leaps over Dingle-Dell. That's the curve that you shouldn't go over, Mike, and you can see now how Andy Rouse has suddenly closed back up on again, Mike, because he just clipped that curve. But again, Rouse sliding wide, working very, very hard indeed. Clearways, again, third gear. Mike takes a very neat line through. Andy Rouse follows as close as he can, but now it's a cartel 1-2 as these Australian imported Sierras show Andy Rouse the way. There's been a battle between these Dick Johnson prepared cars that come up from Australia to challenge the all-conquering Andy Rouse engineering cars, which of course Rouse runs, and so do the Labatt's team. So it's a Rouse car third and fourth, but it's the Yokohama Tired team out front. Here, midfield battle, there's still plenty. That's Lawrence Bristow coming well up the field. Jerry Marnie ahead of him, and Marnie Dave Pinkney, who suddenly pulls to the side. Pinkney going very well, the best he's run for a while, but he's just pulled off wide as Bristow tries the long outside line. It's a very difficult line to take, and it doesn't pay off. And Mike O'Brien looks to come up and retake Lawrence Bristow, but Lawrence really stormed up through the field, up to 12th place, right from the back of the grid, through all the Class Ds, Cs, and even up past the BMWs. So Lawrence Bristow, a charging drive. He's had a trying day, but now he's looking to get this place off Marnie. Marnie, of course, a front runner last year, but not so far this year. Up front, though, we have Smith and Rouse. Rouse still keeping a look at Smith's rear of the Sierras. Gravett's disappearing further and further away, but Andy would like that place back if possible. Back to the field we go, and here we see again Bristow chasing after Marnie, looking on the inside of Surtees and shoveling Marnie around. Marnie goes wide, Bristow looks to the left. I don't think that's on Lawrence, but it is on. So Lawrence, who charging through, he's driven so well this year. Of course, I enjoyed sharing a win with him at Donington, and now he's charging through the field. He's not going to win this one, but he's going to get a long way at this rate. So Bristow moves up to 11th. Into paddock. Marnie, as I've said, he's been playing around with tyres this year. Last year he was up the front, now he's switched to Pirellis, but he hasn't quite got the car handling to the way he likes on these tyres. Bristow and the Andy Rouse engineering car, though, he's on Pirellis as well, pulling away from Marnie and looking up the field for 7th, 8th or 9th places. And Lawrence, steady. That's going wide out of Graham Hill Bend. Down midfield, we see there the Maserati Bi-Turbo make a return to the series. Nick May, but obviously in trouble as Smith and Rouse go past. This battle for second place still being waged. And it's a very tricky track. It's a long, hard race in this heat. But Rouse following Smith. Smith there having to get the back markers. This is where experience, of course, is going to take Rouse now attacking back markers. Mike Smith, relatively inexperienced compared with Rouse, and there you see he's lost the speed coming out of Surtees. Rouse is looking up the inside, and Mike gives him space, and certainly that was gentlemanly driving by Mike. He did give Rouse the space. Smith lost time overtaking the back marker left-hander. He didn't have the speed out towards clearways. Rouse pounced on the moment, and through he goes to take second place back off Smith. So can Smith now counter-attack through paddock? And Rouse sliding wide. Grab it there, we see flash through the picture into Druids. Quite a fair lead, and Smith now is all to do again. We've seen this picture before. And there we see Lawrence Bristow. He's sliced past Carl Jones. And in the background also Mike Newman. So that's two more Sierras he's overtaken after we saw him get past Marnie. And he's now right up into 8th place and going very strongly indeed. From the back of the grid, Lawrence Bristow up to 8th. Down through Graham Hill Bend. Again using every inch of the track, and this time not that extra bit. Behind him we see the BMW boys still doing battle for the Class B honours. Of course now Weaver well in front of the championship ahead of Sittner in Class B, so really Sittner now should be holding station. But however much you have agreements before the race, drivers never trust drivers. But Frank seems to be a lot more friendly than he was at the beginning of the year. Down to Hawthorns. The 6-speed gearbox is used in these BMWs. 6th down to 5th for Hawthorns. And we see really sitting up, not really working as hard as he was at the beginning of the year. And these two now in convoy and mainly trying to make sure that Weaver wins the class, has fastest lap, and makes enough points for this championship challenge that they're putting up. Up to Dingledell. James Weaver going so well. Frank Sittner following behind. On there, sadly, one of the Sierras out, that's Graham Good, who was running in the top 10, but sadly the end of the race, and a spin. Nick May having more problems with the Maserati, and he's right on the apex. He wants a push, he's stalled the car, and our marshals as ever moving forward to help out. In car with Guy having a very big moment there, under braking for Surtees that is, and trying to get the right gear, dumping the clutch, the wheels spin, opposite lock, so a little bit of a moment under braking for Guy Edwards, who nevertheless is holding down a very consistent and steady 5th place. Grab it though, well out front. There we see the order, Grab it Rouse, Smith, Harvey, Edwards 5th, and Mike Newman going well in 6th. Well, we say Harvey, but Harvey there we see the very battered and bent, war-torn Sierra. Obviously a bit of a problem for Tim, and maybe some damage has caused some engine trouble or overheating, so that's the Harvey's challenge. But here we have Rod Gravitt on the last lap through Hawthorns, and it's been a very, very good drive. We haven't seen much of him, but he's made the most of his very well prepared Trackstar team car. He's made the most of his Yokohama tyres, which have obviously come good this weekend, as we've seen Mike Smith doing such a strong supporting performance in this team. And really this swing-swong battle between Andy Rasbert not giving up, whereas we see Rob Gravitt virtually cruising to the line. Andy Rouse is going to try all he can right to the last minute, and certainly Gravitt's lost a lot of his lead over the last laps as Gravitt's toured in. But Rouse in his charge has dropped Mike Smith behind a bit. Smith, although still heading for an excellent 3rd, but it's Rob Gravitt who steals the honours. A very good win indeed, ahead of Rouse. And there the Trackstar team cheering Mike Smith over for a very good 3rd place indeed. And Lawrence Bristow charged up, he eventually got 6th place.
Bristow's charge through the field emphasised also the pace, power and fierce competition among the Class A cars. Bristow in 6th place behind Mike Newman. The Caliber team had taken 2nd and 4th, but the Trackstar team were 1st and 3rd with Rob Gravitt and Mike Smith. Snetterton the next round, Rob Gravitt heading for another victory, and 2 laps to go. It's Rouse and Harvey battling for 2nd.
In car again with Tim, and Tim working really hard indeed. There's no worry about tyre grip now, it's go for everything you've got. There's only a couple of laps left, and Tim wants that 2nd place. Gravitt still has the problems of back markers to get past inside the Vauxhall tandem. And all 3 leaders bottling up as we lead up to the last lap. Harvey working hard to stay on Rouse's tail, following him through the holes. Rouse punching the holes in the back markers, and Tim Harvey staying right on following him through. Gravett looks safe out front at the moment, and Harvey all over the back of Andy Rouse, into Russell. Again, we're back over those curbs again. Harvey more so than Rouse on this occasion. So Rob Gravett has the breathing space. It's really all about second place at the moment between Rouse and Harvey through Ritchie's. Both cars out onto the rumble strips. This time Rouse blocks to the right. He doesn't want Harvey coming through on the inside again. Gravett is safe. Harvey now tries to concentrate on getting the power down, having forced Andy onto the inside. Andy a bit slower out of Sear, and Harvey now right in his slipstream as they come up to the S's. Down the straight, Harvey looking up the inside, a late manoeuvre on the brakes. Rouse is hanging on the outside. Side by side they are. Will Tim hold on? No, he had to give way to Rouse. Rouse had the inside line for the right-handed corner. He holds the second place. Through the bomb hole, into Coram now. Rouse a little bit of a breathing space. Again, more back markers ahead, but there's going to be no problems. It's only Russell Corner before the flag, and another victory for Rob Gravett. The Trackstar team really coming out on top at the moment. A win for Gravett. Rouse fighting in second, and a very good drive from Harvey in third.
Fourth win of the season for Rob Gravett, but only a second covering the first three. Will Hoy in fourth, making it another excellent race for the Trackstar team. Lawrence Bristow fifth, Sean Walker sixth. Class A is certainly where the racing is and where the interest is. And Gravett, against a lot of expectations, seems to have taken a grip on the competition. An 18-point lead over Rouse, and Rouse-prepared cars fill the next two places. So after 9 rounds, it's still a 2-point gap between Weaver of Class B and Cleland of Class C, with Rob Gravett having moved up to third overall and leading the field round the warm-up lap for round 10 at Brands Hatch.
It is very hot. Brands Hatch is a superb circuit with just about every kind of corner and gradient. There are 6 very closely matched Ford Sierra Cosworths in the front 3 rows of the rolling grid, using 3 different makes of tyre. And Andy Rouse on the left is in pole position. This will be good. Into Paddock Bend, it's Rouse leading, Gravett second, Brodie in third place, Lawrence Bristow is fourth. Now up Halewood Rise into Druids, and Van Cowan runs very wide indeed. Now we're looking back from Rob Gravett's car. Brodie's ahead, that's Lawrence Bristow immediately behind. He's in fourth position. So now, out of Druids, there they go, the Class C and D men. And somebody's hit Rossiter. Rossiter's Astra, there it is, pushed out of the race. And now, down they go, round Graham Hill Bend, and there's another one. It's Jerry Marnie. Jerry Marnie, Sierra, out. And at Surtees, they stream round that Sean Walker. And ahead of him, it's Rouse, Brodie, Gravett, Bristow. Over the crest, Pilgrim's Drop. And Gravett takes Brodie up into second place. Now we look back, and that is Dave Brodie right behind us at 120 miles an hour. Into Hawthorne Bend and out of it. Down to Westfield, and you can just see Bristow's car behind in fourth position. There it is, and he's challenging. Lawrence Bristow challenging Dave Brodie, who holds third position. So it's Cosworth's first, second, third, fourth, Stirling's Bend, Rouse, Gravett, Brodie smoking a bit. Lawrence Bristow behind him in fourth position. On to Clearways, where with Lawrence Bristow, watch his gear changes. Up into fifth, back into third. And ahead it's Rouse, the leader. Gravett in second place. Dave Brodie, they're well spread out down the Brabham Straight. 130 miles an hour over the line. Rouse, Gravett. Into Paddock. And that's Thomas Bencera, the Czechoslovakian driver, in the blue car, being chased by Carl Jones, 9th and 10th. Jerry Marnie back in the race. And here's what happened on Cooper Straight. Ahead is Graham Good. Jerry drifts a bit, hits the grass, loses traction, spins off. But he'll be back. Surtees Bend, Andy Rouse right behind him, Rob Gravett. And not so far behind them, Dave Brodie, Lawrence Bristow, Mike Smith, there they are, all together. And as Mike Smith chases them down Pilgrim's Drop, Bristow goes past Brodie, up into third position. And there is Andy Rouse chasing in Rob Gravett. Now the gap. 3 together. Bristow is the third man, but here are the leaders. alongside the Armco. The leaders on their way to clearways, and here they are. Rob Gravitt attacking Andy Rouse at 130 miles an hour as they go down the Brabham Straight over the line. Rouse leads, Gravitt second, Bristow in third position. Then it's Brodie, Smith, Guy Edwards into Paddock. And now Mike Smith is right up with Dave Brodie. Fourth position. Rouse, Gravitt, Bristow, Brodie and Mike Smith attacking in the red and white Sierra round Druids. In car with Mike Smith down to Graham Hill Bend. Third gear, 85 miles an hour. Up towards Surtees, the left-hander. Mike going through the gears. Got a bit of loose trim on the bumper there. Over the crest, out of Surtees. Brodie runs a bit wide, and this is Mike Smith's opportunity. Has he lost it because he had momentum there? But Dave Brodie stays ahead, but not for very much longer because Smith is going through. No, he's not. Brodie holds him off as they go into the right-hander and now down the short straight to Westfield. Brodie and Smith ahead of them. Rouse, Gravitt, Bristow. Terrific scrap here for fourth position. And you can see Bristow, there he is as he goes through Sterling's, the left-hander. Almost together, here are the leaders. Rob Gravitt slingshotting out of the right and Clark curve. Down the straight, he tucks in very tight to the Armco. Into Paddock, Rouse the leader. Gravitt in second place. Now then, Rob Gravitt's won 4 races already. Andy Rouse has won 3 races. Is he going to even it by staying ahead of Rob Gravitt? They're coming out of Druids. Dropping down to Graham Hill Bend. Rob Gravitt in an ideal position to attack here. He's close up behind the wing of Andy Rouse's car as they go into Surtees, the left-hander. He's going through on the inside. Rob Gravitt taking the lead from Andy Rouse. He's got the line. Andy has to run wide. Look back, there he is. 145 miles an hour. Pilgrims to Hawthorne, the right-hander, which they're approaching now, underneath the bridge. This is Hawthorne. There is Andy Rouse behind in second position. You can read the word Andy on his number plate. Now, from Hawthorne's to Westfield, the right hand. Look at this. Terrific. You can see Andy Rouse's car pitching on the suspension. Now, this is Dingledell. Through Dingledell corner. Over the curb, over the curb, over the curb. Now down to the left-hander at Sterling's. From Sterling's down into clearways. And Rob Gravitt is leading. Is he going to stay ahead? No, he's not. Because Andy Rouse goes through. And Rob Gravitt slows down. What has happened? He slowed right down. And now Bristow goes past to second place past Rob Gravitt. Dave Brodie and Mike Smith go past third and fourth. And poor Rob Gravitt is going to be out of the race. He's touring alongside the pits. And he pulls off. Why? Well, who knows? The car looks all right. This is how Andy Rouse saw it. Just a puff of smoke from Gravitt's car there. Closes right up on the Ford and past. What on earth happened?
The gear lead was broken. The gearbox was broken. So that was it. No gears.
And that is rotten luck for Rob, who was certainly looking good for a 5th win. So now, Rouse leads, Bristow second, Brodie third, Smith fourth, Edwards 5th, and Sean Walker in 6th place, and somebody off. It's Dave Pinkney's Sierra, and that looks like a very expensive bit of Armco thumping. All the bodywork battered. Is Dave Pinkney battered? No, he's not. He's out of the car. He's perfectly all right. And there's another one. John Clark's BMW M3, and that is an excellent recovery. 2 more BMWs there. Number 35, Ian Forrest, giving last year's British champion Frank Sidner a very hard time. Battling for second in Class B with the BMW of James ahead of them, leading the class. Sidner, Forrest. There ahead is James Weaver, class leader and championship leader in his BMW. Druids, Great fight for second place. Bristow's got it at the moment. Brodie just behind it. This is Mike Smith. Down to Graham Hill Bend at well over 100 miles an hour. And Mike is still recovering from a broken ankle from that very nasty helicopter crash. Down into second gear for the left-hander at Surtees. Brodie, Mike Smith tucked right up behind him. Brodie's gone onto the curb. Now Mike Smith's opportunity. He's got the momentum. Can he get through? There's Dave Brodie in front. And he staves Mike Smith off as they go into Hawthorns. So it's still Bristow, Brodie, Mike Smith. It looks as though they're catching Lawrence Bristow in second position. That's the winner of the 1 hour race at Donington. The man who drove with Tiffany Dell. But through Dingle Dell they go. Lapping number 83, the veteran Tony Lanfranchi in the Astra. 1, 2, 3, past Lanfranchi they go, and Guy Edwards is catching Mike Smith. Down to Clearways, Rouse is still ahead. Bristow second, Brodie third, Smith fourth, Guy Edwards in fifth position. Into paddock, now there is Rouse. Here is the battle for second position, Bristow, Brodie and Smith. 7 laps to go, and Smith and Brodie most definitely are catching Lawrence Bristow in the Blue Sierra. Up to Druids, number 6 Bristow, second place. Brodie takes a look on the right-hand side, dodges back, hugs the curb. Bristow runs very wide on the exit, and that gives Dave Brodie the chance to close up. He's right up alongside. Then round the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. He's still there as they come up to Surtees, but Bristow has got the inside line, and surely he must get away. But no, Brodie is hanging on, and Mike Smith is going through behind him too. Brodie goes up into second place, Mike Smith goes up into third. We're riding with Lawrence Bristow. There goes Brodie. There is Smith. And he is through up into third position. And so in just a few yards, Lawrence Bristow has gone down from second to fourth, with Smith and Brodie ahead of him. Wow! There they go, second, third, fourth, but now it's Brodie, Smith and Bristow and Edwards. There is Guy Edwards in fifth place, and he's gaining on the three ahead as they go through to lap Les Lydiard's Toyota. And just look how close Guy Edwards is. Now we're in car with Bristow. Immediately ahead is Mike Smith. Just ahead of him is Dave Brodie. Down the Brabham Straight at 130 miles an hour on towards Paddock Bend. Down through the gears. Tuck in tight to the apex. Hit the apex, but Bristow's dropping back a bit as they go up Halewood Rise into Druids. Number 19, Dave Brodie. He's had his problems this season. He's got one now. It's Mike Smith, and that's Alan Minshaw retiring his Volkswagen Golf, and it looks as though the right front tyre is rubbing the bodywork. Now that's Ray Arms, that's another retirement, the Honda Civic, but I must say he hasn't parked in a very sensible place. He's right on the tarmac on the Brabham Straight. Couldn't he have pulled over further onto the grass? And the leaders are bearing down on him. Rouse has gone by, there's Brodie chased by Smith, and Bristow has got Edwards slipstream. Guy Edwards putting across to try and pass Bristow, and he only just misses Arms' Honda Civic. That was a very close thing, and Guy Edwards goes through. Edwards up into fourth position, but not for long. He's run very wide indeed, out onto the runoff, and Lawrence Bristow is back in fourth. Number 6 Bristow up into fourth position, and Guy Edwards has got it all to do again. Coming down to Graham Hill Bend. Along the bottom straight, so cool, into Surtees, and Guy Edwards is doing it. He's back with Bristow already. Brodie and Smith are catching Jeff Kimber Smith's Toyota. Behind them, Bristow and Edwards. Out of Hawthorn. Brodie past Kimber Smith. Smith past Kimber Smith. No, he's lost it! And Kimber Smith hits him. That contact, that is a big one. Thomas Metzera goes through. And that was so sudden, I suspect something broke, And from the look of that wheel, it was the rear suspension, and Guy Edwards is out too, Andy Rouse's teammate. Mike Smith getting out of the car. What a pity, because that was a great drive. And you can see how he's still limping. Mike looks at the car, and now here's a replay. In car with Mike Smith, chasing Dave Brodie, catching Jeff Kimber-Smith's Toyota. Brodie in front. Brodie goes past, Smith goes past, loses it, fights it, but that was most certainly not Mike Smith's fault. And the innocent Jeff Kimber-Smith powered the body shot. So, how did Kimber-Smith see that big crunch? Just like this. We're with it, there goes Brodie. And whoops, there's Mike Smith. Off onto the grass, but no problem. On we go. And Jeff Kimber-Smith shakes his head. I bet that made his glasses mist up. And now the adopted Australian Thomas Metzera, the winner of last year's Bathurst 1000 and a Brands Hatch racing instructor, is in third place. Number 6, Lawrence Bristow, his teammate ahead of him. So this is a great race for the two Labatt's men. They are almost together, second and third, Bristow and Metzera, the two blue cars. Last lap, Andy Rouse, the man from Warwickshire, has led every lap. And he's going to win. He's put up the fastest lap of 100.27 now. He's just lapped Mike O'Brien, number 17 there. He's got his headlights blazing to let the people know he's coming through. Into Dingledell Corner for the last time. Up to Stirling's for the last time. He's now just got that little short straight after Stirling's as the back of the car steps out and Andy corrects it to go into the right-hander at Clearways, which leads into Clark Curve. Another win for the touring car champion of champions, Andy Rouse, but even more important than that, 9 points for victory.
So Andy Rouse levels the score over Rob Gravitt, 4 wins apiece. Excellent race for the Labatt's team, second and third via Bristow and Metzera. Sean Walker 4th, Mike Newman 5th, and Graham Good 6th. Rouse engineered cars filling the first 3 places, and it could have been 4 if Guy Edwards hadn't joined Mike Smith in the Westfield gravel trap.
Smithy's suspension broke, and I had nowhere to go. I had to spin him. Otherwise, I'd have collected him too.
I'm very sorry.
No, it wasn't your fault, was it? I mean, it wasn't.
No.
It looked like your wheel collapsed.
Yeah.
Or something like that, so, you know, it's a pity because I think we had a good chance of finishing behind Andy there.
It may be 4 wins apiece, but it's Rob Gravitt ahead of Andy Rouse in the Class A Championship. 8 points the difference, Harvey and Bristow 3rd and 4th. So to what's been described as the Monaco of the Midlands, the Birmingham Super Prix round. 2 points still separate Weaver and Cleland in the overall championship, but little will separate Gravitt, Rouse and the Labatt's men at the head of the Birmingham field.
Into Holt's Corner, the first right-hander. We're in car with Andy Rouse. Rob Gravitt ahead, and Tim Harvey passes up into second place. And now in car with John Llewellyn in the BMW, chasing Ian Forrest and Godfrey Hall. Out of Holt's Corner, the Munro Kink. Godfrey Hall ahead, and there's somebody off. It's Mike Smith. And we've gone past James Weaver, who's stopped. And at Halford's Corner, it's Rob Gravitt leading, Harvey second, then Rouse, Bristow, Hodges, Walker, and Guy Edwards. Now looking back from race leader Gravitt Sierra. And there's Tim Harvey. Andy Rouse behind him. Down the Belgrave middleway at 145 miles an hour. The Mosque receding into the background. Right at Ferodo Corner. Third gear, 90 miles an hour. Out of Ferodo. Gravitt leads. Harvey behind us in second place. Then Andy Rouse, Bristow behind him. And Marnie nearly hits the barrier in the background. Up to the left-hander at Halford's elbow. Third gear, 85 miles an hour. Rob Gravitt leads. Tim Harvey behind him. There's Harvey. Challenge. Now out of the Cavendish Corner. First gear, 40 miles an hour. The slowest on the track. Bristow, we're in car with Andy Rouse in third position, challenging alongside Harvey through into second position. But Harvey's fighting back. He's got the nose of the Sierra ahead and he holds the second place. Andy Rouse still third, Bristow in fourth position. Now we're with Rouse again, through the Munro Kink. There's only about 50 miles an hour, looks a lot quicker, but now building up to the fastest part of the course. There's Rob Gravitt, the leader, and his teammate Mike Smith is in the pits.
One of the gentlemen pushed me into the barrier. Just a big push on the back end and knocked me into the barrier. Just went round. It's done that and it's done the front end of the car in as well. And the seat broke on impact.
And now let's see how James Weaver saw Mike's accident. And he sees Mike hit Gary Van Cowen Sierra and lose it. And Weaver loses 2 places, down to 4th in Class B. Past goes Godfrey Hall and John Llewellyn. And here's the BMW battle. Hall and Llewellyn. Frank Sidner leads Class B with Good behind him. Now there's Hall in the black BMW, Llewellyn, Weaver, Forrest. Frank Sidner, 11th place. Graham Good chasing him in the Sierra, 12th. And it's all go at the front. Gravitt, Harvey, Rouse, Bristow. There's Harvey. First at Thruxton, round the 180-degree, 50-mile-an-hour, Halford's corner, closing right up on us. Going through, is he? Is he? He's right up alongside. He's past us. Harvey goes into the lead, ahead of Rob Gravitt. What a fantastic pass. And into Ferodo corner, it's Harvey leading, and now there is Rouse. He's in third place, following us with Rob Gravitt. But Rouse is really forcing. You can see the Sierra going by. Is it past? There's Bristow in the background, in fourth position, and Rouse is through. It's Harvey leading, Rouse second, Bristow in fourth position, Gravitt is third, and behind them it's Chris Hodgetts in fifth place. Sean Walker is 6th, Guy Edwards is in 7th place, and they're coming through to complete a lap. In car with Lawrence Bristow, 4th position, Rob Gravitt ahead, into the left-hander, and we've hit Gravitt. Gravitt hits the Armco, tyre smoke, he's fishtailing, Bristow goes through, up into the and that will not have done Rob Gravitt Sierra any good at all. Now let's have another look. There's Rouse. Gravitt, he's hit. He hits the Armco. Now let's have a look at it from Gravitt's car point of view. There goes Bristow on the right. We've swung right out wide. There's Bristow again. We've hit the Armco, don't forget. And now Bristow goes through and Hodgetts closes right up. So now it's Harvey leading, Rouse second, Bristow third, Hodgetts is up into fourth place. There is Gravitt in fifth position, behind him Sean Walker and Guy Edwards. There's Gravitt. Walker, Guy Edwards out of Cavendish corner. Coming towards us, Rob Gravitt in a very bent Sierra. Looking back from Gravitt's car, that is Sean Walker from Elstree in 6th. Ex-car champion, Exports 2000 champion. He's challenging Gravitt, he's going for 5th position, and he takes 5th position. Can Gravitt fight back this time like he did before? And the answer is no. Sean Walker holds that 5th position. In car with James Weaver. Now he has got to win his class to retain the overall championship lead, and he's only 4th in his BMW. There is John Llewellyn, 3rd in his class. Weaver's got to get past him. He's got to get past Godfrey Hall. He has got to get past Frank Sidner to take the class lead in order to benefit his chances in the overall championship. 320 horsepower, left-hand drive, 6-speed, 150 miles an hour almost in parts in the BMW. And John Llewellyn is driving beautifully. He hasn't got the performance, but as I say that, Weaver goes through. And Llewellyn keeps his place. Godfrey Hall in the black BMW in front of the white one. Through the Munro Kink. Now Peter Barwell Hill. Tremendously fast this. Up to Halford's corner. James Weaver's chance. He's got the works engine, the ProDrive car. He should have more performance than Llewellyn. Into Halfords. Right down through the gearbox, tucked in tight to the Armco. Godfrey Hall in front. John Llewellyn in the white car. Through the Munro King. Down the Belgrave bit in middle way, and through goes James Weaver. But it's all action at the front. There is Harvey, number 7, leading. Rouse behind him in second place. Bristow in third. Rocking on the softer suspension that they have to use for this bumpy street circuit. Harvey. Rouse going very wide. In car with Andy Rouse chasing Harvey in front, and immediately behind us is Lawrence Bristow. Just watch the master at work. Watch his hands on the wheel. Watch the gear change. Harvey, Rouse, Bristow, and Andy Rouse keeps showing the nose of his Sierra to Tim Harvey to try and fluster him. But Tim's got a lot of experience. He'll be hard to fluster. Lawrence Bristow is trying to do the same thing to Andy Rouse. 550 horsepower. That is not your average Sierra. It can do 180 miles an hour. Not here, but it can do. And Andy Rouse is going for it. Absolute precision. Feed in the power when he gets it straight. He's got the king to go through. Away. Tim Harvey gets the power down beautifully. They're closing up on a tail ender. This could change. The gets in the way. You can see him getting closer and closer. And Rouse takes his opportunity. Look at Andy Rouse now. Can he dive through the middle? Tim Harvey, number 7, on the right. Rouse, they've both taken the tail ender. Now Lawrence Bristow is going to do the same thing. Rouse attacks. One mistake by Tim Harvey and he will be through and into the lead. And Andy Rouse built Tim Harvey's Sierra and Lawrence Bristow's car. He knows every millimetre of both of them and his own car. And don't forget, he can hardly see the track ahead. It's like following a tube of steel made of Armco. Absolutely together. Lawrence Bristow biding his time. If either of them goes off, he'll benefit and go through. Now they're closing on 2 tail enders. And one of them is John Morris's Golf Volkswagen. Harvey nearly touches the Armco. Rouse almost does the same thing. Look at the speed here. Just watch them absolutely gobble up that, mate. It's as though he's on the slow lane of the motorway. Now there's Morris. There's Morris in the black Volkswagen. Through goes Harvey. Through goes Bristow. Morris runs wide. Out of Halfords. This is absolutely superb motor racing at the limit, and Rouse is going for it now. He's up alongside Harvey. Bristow is still there behind, and he is certainly not having it all his own way like he did last year. And look how Tim Harvey uses all the track. He has to, and that's why it makes it so difficult to get past on this circuit. But they've got to get past Jeremy Rossiter's Vauxhall Astra. Is it going to be Rouse darting through? No. Tim Harvey right up alongside the Armco, and he nearly takes Rossiter with him, who's actually got the right indicator winking to say come through, and they both do it. Now, how much longer can Tim Harvey resist this incredible pressure from Andy Rouse when he's actually pulling away a bit there? Andy's got the experience. He's going for it again as they go through. And if Tim Harvey leaves any room anywhere, and he's doing it now, can Andy go past on the outside? No, he cannot. Because Harvey drifts right again, almost touches the Armco again, gets the power down in the right place again. But still Andy Rouse is coming back at him, and still Lawrence Bristow is right there in the background. Sierra Cosworth, Sierra Cosworth is the order. Harvey, Rouse, Bristow, and Harvey's nearly lost it. And that's exactly what Gravett did, and Andy Rouse takes his chance and goes through into the lead.
The manoeuvre that set up another victory for Andy Rouse in the Caliber Ford. Behind him, a battle for second between Harvey and Bristow that raged till the last lap.
That's for Odo. Now down to Halford's elbow. And Bristow comes again. Lawrence is absolutely on the edge of adhesion, but then so is Tim Harvey. And Bristow goes for it yet again. Comes right up alongside the rear wheel, the front door, almost up to the front wheel, but Harvey gets his foot down, goes through. The Astra's in front of him. Past that. And there's the checkered flag. Harvey finishes in second place. Bristow finishes in third place, but Andy Rouse has won. Takes his 5th win of the season from 11 races. A typically superb drive. Calm, smooth, never a wheel wrong, and the fastest lap at over 92 miles an hour.
So Class A as fiercely contested as ever, but overall the championship was still between James Weaver and John Cleland, who were relentlessly picking up their class wins. 2 points remained the gap, and the final 2 rounds would decide the title. The first of these was at Donington. Qualifying had been wet at the Derbyshire circuit, and wet conditions can produce surprises. And it was certainly a surprise when Mike Newman stole onto the front row, albeit 2 seconds slower than poleman Rob Gravitt. After a season of following the pack, Newman now needed instruction in following the pace car.
There's only one pace lap, not a green flag lap.
Directly behind Newman on the grid, Dave Brodie.
With Mad Mike Newman in front. Mad Mike Newman on the front row of the grid. We're all petrified, okay? The gentleman racer.
Donington's extra loop, the Melbourne hairpin, would be another new experience for the SO British Championship. Gravitt's pole position had been his 4th of the season, the first time we'd seen Newman on the front row, and Lawrence Bristow, the leading Labatt's runner. The third row, Tim Harvey and Andy Rouse. Mechanical problems had meant that both had missed the best of the qualifying conditions. David Sears, standing in for Guy Edwards, shared the 4th row with Jerry Marnie. Further down, Frank Sittner leads the Class B qualifiers. Commentary comes from a man who tasted victory in the championship at Donington back in May, Tiff Niddell.
Out of Goddard's then, the field kept in a tight, orderly queue due to the tight hairpin, accelerating across the line, and it like Rob Gravitt again has got the power down well, made the pole position. He's even able to move over there, takes the racing line from Mike Newman, holding his 2nd place. Lawrence Bristow trying to go around the outside as the rest of the field storms through Redgate. On down through Craner curbs, and Gravitt already. Bristow tries the long outside route around the outside of Newman. I don't think he'll get away with that. So still 3rd, Gravitt easing away while the rest of the field now bottles up behind Mike Newman. Lawrence looking back to his teammate Tim Harvey, a good start up to 4th place. Andy Rouse behind that. Up to McLean's, and Harvey there. Harvey seeing an inside line on his teammates, moves up to 3rd ahead of Bristow. In car now with Andy Rouse, he's got the 2 Labatt's twins ahead of him. Bristow trying to get that 3rd place back, and not as getting through and getting this car sideways. Well, this has given Andy a chance now to close up on Lawrence Bristow. Down the straight they go, in the slipstream. Can Rouse get by? He looks up the inside. And we see Rouse alongside Bristow now, yes, and that's Rouse through to 4th place. Through the tight S's, the high curbing there, pushing that Graham Good, using a little bit of the grass. Thomas Mazera, Carl Jones diving up the inside and taking 2 places. Harvey looking inside Newman and goes through into the Melbourne hairpin. There's Gravitt, the leader. Harvey really braked late to get past there, went very wide, and in fact he's lost the place again. Mike Newman back up the inside, accelerating out up to this tight final hairpin, the Goddard's hairpin left, a puff of smoke as Gravitt locks the front wheel, and Harvey now is going to try that overtaking manoeuvre again. Redgate, Newman holds the inside line. Harvey's going to try this long outside line. It's possible at Redgate, and indeed Tim gets through. So that's a nice overtaking manoeuvre. Harvey forcing his way forward in these opening laps, and now he's going to chase after, leaving Andy Rouse to try and get past Newman. Down to the old hairpin. Rouse also sliding straight through. A neat manoeuvre pushes Newman back another place. And Lawrence Bristow, who was at the front of this queue, now has to try and get past Newman himself, and I think he's done it. He's up the inside, yes, that should be through, but Newman comes back. There's a slight touch there, and, well, that's a great shame. Lawrence Bristow, who'd qualified so well, he's not too happy either. Up front, though, Gravett leads, Harvey second, and Rouse closed right up. So these three, the main winners so far this year, they're in for another head-to-head battle. Harvey straight away looks up the inside, and he's through. Pushes Gravett wide, the same pass as he went through Newman, and Rouse tried to get through as well as Gravett goes wide. We've got three Sierras side by side. Rouse unable to make the most of it, so it's now Harvey, Gravett, Rouse, but Sierras everywhere. Gravett tried to go around the outside of Harvey, Rouse comes up the inside, and it's going to be Harvey now with a fair lead as the other two lean on each other in the background. Is it going to be Gravett? I think Gravett's got the inside line here, yes. Rouse concedes the corner, and it's now Harvey, Gravett, Rouse. Down Craner curves, it's very fast, and a lot of braking there from Gravett. Harvey disappears in the distance, and I think Rouse was almost surprised there. He couldn't overtake at that point. Oversteering into the old hairpin, called the hairpin, but it's the fastest corner on the circuit. And up now towards McLean's, this tricky corner. You have to dab the brakes approaching the left-hand curve. Difficult braking area this. Down to third gear then for the McLean's corner. And out on the curves, Harvey trying to get away. He sees the two in the background having a dice. He's trying to make as much distance as possible, but trying to get too much of that 500 horsepower down on the track too early. So that slide costing him a bit of his lead. In the background, we see David Sears moving up well. He's got past Newman and left the pack behind. Sears substituting this weekend for Guy Edwards in the second Caliber Sierra. Back down now towards the Melbourne hairpin. Harvey in the lead. Gravett second. These three now a bit of breathing space after those frantic opening laps. And here we see the BMW battle, the traditional teammates waging warfare. In the background, Lawrence Bristow, well, he was making up ground from that earlier spin, and there Thomas Mazzera took his line, and a rather over-ambitious overtaking manoeuvre by Lawrence. But the BMW boys, we see, in fact, is sitting the leading at the moment from James Weaver. Weaver, of course, the championship contender of these two, leading the championship. Weaver seeing an indicator up ahead, but I think it's going to be after this Goddard's hairpin that Frank Sittner's going to let his championship leading teammate Weaver. Yes, sure enough, Sittner pulling to the left. James Weaver's going to be given the inside line for Redgate corner. These two teammates working well together now to try and win this championship for BMW. James, in fact, thanking Frank. So that's all through. Into the pit lane, that's Jerry Marnie, obviously in problems. Also in the pit lane, that's Thomas Mazzara in the JQF Engineering Sierra. We saw him earlier here being attacked by Lawrence Bristow in a very over-ambitious overtaking manoeuvre. Lawrence trying to make up lost ground, and maybe that's why Mazzara's in the pits. But Lawrence here, still going strong, still fighting back again. Smoke pouring off the bodywork. Obviously a bit of a dent there, which has caused the tyre to rub. Also smoking slightly is the leader, his teammate Tim Harvey. I hope there's no problems there. Again, maybe a little bit of bodywork damage has pushed the bodywork onto the tyre, but Tim's certainly not going any slower for it. And holding on ahead of Gravett and Rouse. Down the Craner curves, Harvey leads. There's a bit of breathing space at the moment. That puff of smoke again, it seems to come off the rear right corner, so maybe that is a little bit of bodywork touching, but certainly not slowing him at all. And these two slightly pulling away from Rouse. At the back we see the BMWs battling away, and here we see James Weaver now got to always have the problem of a Sierra holding him up sometimes, and that's a Sierra with a problem. That's Dave Brody's Sierra, and there's a lot of puffs of smoke coming out of the back. So Brody falling backwards. He qualified well on the second row of the grid, but here we see James Weaver bouncing over the curbs. James very fast, very smooth. And he's going to have to sort out the Sierra, because often he can get held up in the corners, but the puffs of smoke, I think, indicate that he won't be long before he gets past. More of a problem for James, though, is he needs to get on, he needs to win his class and get fastest lap to keep his championships alive. The class winners, you only score your best 11 from 13 results, and so far with the 9 races behind, James dropping his worst 2 scores, has 9 wins, 8 of them with fastest lap. His nearest rival, John Cleland, has 9 wins, all with fastest lap. So with this round and one more after, James can only get 2 more maximums with fastest laps, whereas this man, John Cleland, if he wins today with fastest lap and does that again at Silverstone, he'll end up with a full 11 maximum scores, all with fastest lap, and that would make John Cleland the British Touring Car champion by 1 point. So both these drivers, they know what they have to do, and they need the support of their teammates. And well, there we see Frank Sittner really supporting his teammate. Frank obviously worried he put in a bit of a fast lap there and actually hit the brakes to not count that lap. Here in the pits, that is Dave Brodie. I'm not sure what that is they're replacing, but that obviously was the car. We saw it puffing smoke and in trouble, and Brodie in the pits. Mechanics working away frantically, getting back. Well, up front, the battle now is raging. Tim Harvey there over the curbs of the S's. They're right in amongst the back markers. Rob Gravitt losing a bit of ground as he had to go wide around the outside. And no sign of Andy Rouse at the moment. He's dropping away slightly, so really it's these two out front battling for the lead. Gravitt into the Melbourne hairpin. Harvey escaping ahead of him. A little bit of breathing space as Gravitt slides into oversteer, getting the power down. There we see Andy Rouse still overtaking the back markers. And Tim Harvey driving a very, very good race out front. Obviously under pressure, but not letting Gravitt get on top of him. Rouse a little bit closer perhaps, now they've all got through those back markers. So Harvey making the most of the back markers, getting well ahead. That's Dave Brodie just rejoining the race as Gravitt goes through. Further down the field, here this is Rob Gravitt's teammate Mike Smith trying to get 9th place off of Carl Jones. Both these drivers had problems in practice, both very quick indeed, and here Carl Jones taking the inside, a little dab of the brakes to check they're there before braking into Redgate. Mike no way through on this occasion, but he's right up the back of Carl Jones, sliding wide, getting the power on and sliding out. Up front though, the leaders still amongst the back markers. They both pop out in unison to overtake another man, and again Harvey gets that slower car, slower in his class, John Morrison's Volkswagen, but Gravitt going through and trying to close the gap, but all the time Harvey seems to have the edge. Ahead of him, the John Cleland's teammates, the battling Vauxhall Astras, that's Jeremy Rossiter and Louise Aitken-Walker, but Gravitt now right behind Harvey. A little bit of a problem when two cars are racing ahead of each other, but he should be able to get by both of them on the power acceleration up to Melbourne Hairpin. Indeed, one of them indicating to let the leaders through. So both through. Gravitt leaves his braking very late there, closes right up, but loses ground in the end because he had to slide so wide he braked too late. Up to Goddard's, the tight left-hand hairpin again. Rob Gravitt really braking that front wheel locked up all the way in before it picked up off the ground. Rob slides the long way round the outside of the hairpin and Harvey escapes. Here at BMWs we see Sittner going through past Weaver. I hope James hasn't got a problem. But we didn't expect that to happen after we saw Sittner let his team leader through, but in car with James Weaver, doesn't seem to be any problems. Maybe Frank's decided he wants to turn out the lead. This is local circuit Donington. Frank also sliding wide at the hairpins, missing the apex, but often a problem with these saloon cars getting into the apex. So Frank Sittner leads the BMW team. Weaver really any problems, he's not going to the pits, so we assume that they're all happy, whereas these two out front are really having a battle. Harvey still leads, but Gravitt now closer than really we've seen for quite a time, and now really in a position to maybe have an overtaking maneuver down to the S's. Harvey takes the racing line. Rob Gravitt doesn't have a look up the inside. Harvey obviously confident he can brake late and not allow Gravitt through. Very neat through the S's there, gets the power down, accelerating up to Melbourne. Now this is where Gravitt's been braking late. Maybe he'll have a go this time. Up the inside, indeed. Rob Gravitt goes through tremendously late on the brakes, but he paid the penalty, and really there was no hope of getting around the corner at that speed. So Harvey says, well, I'll just have my lead back. Thank you very much, Rob. You've got to do that again. Again, he tries it as well. Rob Gravitt really very late on the brakes, but it's not paying dividends because he always ends up being slow out of the corners. And it's always a problem when trying to overtake. You brake late, you tend to wide at the corner and then not get the power down as quick as the other driver. But still he's right in Harvey's wheel tracks. Again the puff of smoke from the front. So Rob really fighting. This is great saloon car racing. And Harvey all the time being very good with the back markers, picking the right line, not making any mistakes. Tim driving a very professional race under this intense pressure from Rob Gravitt. You can't get much closer than that. Up to McLean's. This battle pulled well away from Andy Rouse, who's now not even in sight in the background. So these two really setting a searing pace. Harvey very neat under such intense pressure. Gravitt now very close. If he can get the power down now and get onto the straight behind Harvey, but no sort of black marks been left by the tyres. Another twitch at the end of the corner, and there Rob will be upset because he had the right position to try and get in the slips and on the straights. He got too greedy, tried to go for too much power. The car slipped, and that means he's not close enough to outbrake at the end of the straight. Up to the Melbourne hairpin where we saw Gravitt try so hard on the last lap. Again, he closes in under braking, but once more slides wide. So Rob Gravitt very late on the brakes, but not getting out of the corners as quick as Tim Harvey is. Okay. Well, I think Rob needs to, he's really absolutely got his head down in the red haze. There is team urging him on, 3 laps to go, and he's trying his hardest and maybe trying too hard. So with 3 laps to go, the order Harvey and Gravitt well ahead, and Rouse, his teammate Sears following behind, and then there's a good battle for 5th between Graham Good and Sean Walker. Here indeed we see that battle, and Sean Walker taking that 5th place off Graham Good as they start what's 3 laps left of racing. A good battle for 5th place. Sean Walker probably having his best race so far this year, and inside line down to Redgate to make sure Good doesn't come straight back at him. Oh, and there, that's John Morris, and a multiple roll. John looks all right, head moving with great relief in the car. The marshal's quick on the scene, but that was a very, very severe roll for John Morris in his Volkswagen Golf. He's obviously a bit winded by it, but we saw his head moving, and there we see the marshals on the scene, and yes, John getting out perfectly all right. But as the car is already rolling, as it came into camera shot, and once bouncing, that really shows, you know, how quick the cars are going. When they get it wrong and they get launched, it's a big accident. In car, this is Mike Smith, and Mike also getting a bit greedy with his horsepower, the back breaking away under power, and Mike held it very well on the grass for a short while, but back on the track, but he'll still be angry with himself. The BMWs, well, that's Frank sitting there, only a couple of laps left now, and Frank, the indicator on again. There you are, James. I've had my share of leading, but it's James Weaver heading for another class victory. Presumably the team have got it right, and also fastest lap. So the last lap for leaders, and we see now in fact that Tim has pulled away. Rob Gravitt not as close as he has been when he was challenging so hard, braking so late in those hairpins. And Tim, well, he's driven a very, very good race, very professional. That puff of smoke again from the rear right corner as the car sets down through the long left-handed corner. And Tim being let by a BMW driver, moving over very neatly. And as long as there's no real disaster on this last lap, I can't see anything stopping Tim Harvey scoring a very, very impressive win with Rob Gravitt and Andy Rouse both in healthy cars. No retirements from the other 2 top winners, the people that won most of the races. Gravitt having won 4 and Rouse 5. Tim Harvey's 2nd win of the year, and accelerating down the straight for the last time. Only the S's and a couple of hairpins to cause any problems, and Rob not late enough for one of those famous late braking lunges. So Tim Harvey up to the Melbourne hairpin. Rob Gravitt really not close enough this time at all to get by, and it's a nice way to end a race, having a little bit of breathing space. Headlights ablaze to warn any back markers that the leader is on his way. So Tim Harvey looking for the 3rd win of the year for the Labatt's team, and it's been a very good win indeed. Out of the tight corner's hairpin, Harvey wins. Rob Gravitt gave his best, but it's 2nd for him.
Harvey from Gravitt, Rouse 3rd, David Sears 4th, Sean Walker 5th, Graham Good 6th. But a long overdue victory for Tim Harvey in a race of the highest quality.
So pleased with that. Oh, marvellous. That was the best race all year. Beats Birmingham. Fantastic.
Class A Championship table, Andy Rouse's point deduction for engine irregularities reinstated under appeal, so he trails Gravett by 3, with Tim Harvey third. All went to plan in the other classes. James Weaver led home his BMW teammate Frank Zitner in Class B. In Class C, John Cleland led home his Vauxhall teammate Louise Aitken-Walker, who'd held off the challenge of Jeremy Rossiter to claim second in class. Class D, once again, Ray Arms in the Honda Civic, 10 seconds ahead of Jeff Kimber-Smith. So overall, it's still a 2-point gap between Weaver and Cleland, coming to the last round at Silverstone. But with only the best 11 scores out of 13 counting, the issue is that if both win their class and take fastest lap at Silverstone, will win the title by 1 point.
As ever, it's a rolling start for the 15-lap race over Silverstone's full 2.9-mile Grand Prix circuit. And the 35 cars and drivers set off after the pace car in ideal conditions. But not John Cleland, that's Cleland at the back of the grid, and everybody's surging past him, and he seems to be having some sort of a gear selection problem. Now, even if he gets going, he's got to stay at the back, that's the rule. But he's got going. There's the Jaguar fire tender going ahead of him, and he's away. Let's see what he does. Well, he's past the Jaguar, but sensibly he is staying last. Actually, I don't think it's too much of a setback. John's Astra is so fast that it should catch all his class rivals quite easily. But we'll see. Round Copse Corner, last on the grid, John Cleland with a chance of the championship. But there's something new up. Proudly leading round in pole position, Welshman Carl Jones from Lambton. It's his first pole position, a superb achievement against the high-budget teams. But Carl did his banzai lap on a damp track. Now it's bone dry, maybe that'll affect his tyres. So there he is, pole position, Andy Rouse second on the grid, Rob Gravett, the championship class leader, third, and Chris Hodgetts from Redditch, a superb fourth with a new team. Mike Smith fifth in the sister car of Rob Gravett, Guy Edwards sixth in, he says, his last race for a while, Tim Harvey seventh, that's well down for him, and Graham Good a strong eighth. Bristow, who's Harvey's teammate, 9th position, veteran Dave Brodie in 10th place, Sean Walker is 11th, and Blackburn's Mike Newman 12th. 12 Sierra Cosworths, James Weaver's the fastest BMW at 13th. And there, number 56, the joint championship leader, John Cleland in the Vauxhall Astra, starting last. Out of the complex. Don't forget, it is a rolling start. The pace car in front. It will peel away into the pit lane as they come out of the right-hander at Woodcote. He does so, and it's 35 Road Rockets go down to Copse Corner. Rob Gravett's leading. Jones is second on the left. Andy Rouse on the outside is in third position, and Tim Harvey's up into fourth place. Now we're in car with Andy Rouse. Jones and Gravett ahead. Harvey and Smith have gone past. Now that is Mike Smith in the red and white Sierra on the right. We're riding with Andy Rouse. We're past Mike Smith. Into the right-hander at Beckett's. Jones running very wide. Harvey's gone up into second place. Guy Edwards over the curb, dropping back. That's cost him dear. Back in car with Andy Rouse. Carl Jones ahead. Now down the Hanger Straight, building to 155 miles an hour. Gravett leads. Harvey second. Then together, it's Rouse, Jones, Smith, and Graham Good into Stowe Corner. Rouse up into third position, outside Carl Jones. So now down into Club Corner for the first time. Gravett, Harvey, Rouse, Carl Jones with the yellow covers on his headlights in fourth position. In car with Lawrence Bristow now. He is in seventh position, out of Abbey at 140 miles an hour. Graham Good ahead in sixth place, and we're closing up on him very fast indeed. Into the left, now the second part of the corner, the right-hander, and he's tapped Good, he's hit Good, spun him round. And zonk, straight into Graham Good's car goes Dave Brodie, and they are obviously both out of the race. Rob Gravett is leading. Andy Rouse is now up into second place. There he goes, Tim Harvey in third position in the blue Sierra. In car. Now just watch his hands on the steering wheel, on the gear lever. Second, chasing Rob Gravett. Into the left-hander at Baggett's. That's about 140 miles an hour. Down to Beckett, 75 miles an hour. 4 wins to Rob Gravitt, 5 wins to Andy Rouse, and Rouse needs to win this one for the Class Championship. Down the Hanger Straight now. Out of Chapel, 155 miles an hour soon, and Rouse is going for it. He's dodging about behind Gravitt's car, and he's powering straight past. There is a real horsepower advantage there. So Gravitt in 2nd position. Harvey is still 3rd. And Rouse has now got a clear track in front of him, and so has Dave Brodie, but for all the wrong reasons. Yet another disappointment in a very contentious season, and that's Graham Good's car being recovered. Dave Brodie, bit of whiplash it looks like. He looks fit enough, sprinting away back to the pits. Now here's a of Good's spin. Now watch him very carefully. He's hit by Bristow, who hits him again. That's twice, 180-degree spin, and Brodie, unsighted, goes straight into him. Poor Graham out of the race through no fault of his own. And at the complex, it's Rouse leading. Gravitt 2nd, Harvey in 3rd position. Those 3 have broken away from the rest. 1st, 2nd and 3rd, they are all race winners, and the battle is on. Through the chicane, Rouse, Gravitt, Harvey, down the straight, lap 3, that's the order. Rouse leading, Gravitt 2nd, Harvey in 3rd position, Bristow 4th, Smith 5th, Jones 6th, Walker is 7th, and Hodgetts is in 8th position. Now there is Jones, Walker, Hodgetts, and back at the complex, championship leader John Cleland is up to 23rd out of 35, and he's leading his class. He's broken the record, and that will do nicely, John. There's his rival, James Weaver. He is leading Class B in the BMW M3. Hodgetts is 5th. Chris Hodgetts, number 25, has gone ahead of Mike Smith into 5th position. Smith down to 6th, Jones down to 7th. And Hodgetts in the car previously driven by Gerrit van Kouwen, the Dutchman. And Chris is really peddling it. Now the end of another lap, no change at the front, and if Andy Rouse stays first, he will provisionally win the Class Championship. But there's going to be a lot of arguing before that happens. Lap 11, there's the order. Rouse, Gravitt, Harvey, Bristow 4th, Hodgetts 5th, Smith 6th, Edwards in 7th position. And back at the complex, Nick May in the red bi-turbo Maserati is being engulfed. Mike Smith has already passed him. Guy, Edwards, and Carl Jones, and there is Jones, will be doing so soon. Hodgetts, 5th position. Smith in 6th place. Now there is May, and sure enough, Guy Edwards goes through, passes the Maserati. He will take Carl Jones with him shortly. And in car with Marnie, not making any impression on Sean Walker as he comes out of Cops Corner, onto Maggots, goes up a gear, and another. Now Beckett's down through the gearbox. And there they go, Walker and Marnie. Now, they are out of Chapel Curve, down the Hanger Straight, chasing Nick May. Sean Walker goes past the Maserati. Now it is Jerry Marnie's turn, right up alongside him into the racing line, and there's contact. And he's lost it. Jerry Marnie's lost it. Looks over his shoulder, straight onto the gravel track. And that is it.
Wally! Wally!
I don't think Jerry is at all happy. And I suppose you can hardly blame him. Well, his race is well and truly over. Now let's have a look at it again. Marnie on the left, May on the right. Well, Jerry's a big bloke, and I better watch my words, but that looked like a Marnie shove to me. Anyway, whatever, they are both out of the race, Marnie and May. And now, Rob Gravitt is on his way down to Hanger. He is right on the tail of Andy Rouse's car. Number 1, Andy Rouse, race leader at Stowe. They're lapping the midfield men, including, incidentally, John Dooley there, the Alfa Romeo man who is having his first drive in a Sierra, and Andy Rouse has got his hands full of more than the steering. Right behind him, Rod Gravitt going for it. Out of club, now up to Abbey. There's a slight climb here. Up into the bridge and the complex. And Gravett is going through. Gravett is taking the lead. He has taken the lead. And there's contact. And off goes Gravett. Not quite off. Andy Rouse keeps on his way. There's going to be a big argument about that too, I am sure. Rob Gravett gets away. But in the process, Tim Harvey there is right up with Gravett. So second and third are together, and Andy Rouse, the leader, has got away. The whole race transformed in a twinkling. Copse Corner. Now, Rob Gravett really has got a problem with the championship, because if Tim Harvey, who's pressuring him, look at him, if he gets by, Rob Gravett is going to have had it. Maggots. Andy Rouse is on his way to win number 6 and a new lap record. 1 minute 37.3, that is 110 miles an hour. Now, here is a replay of that controversial incident. Rouse into the complex, left. Look for Gravett on the left. There he is. He goes to the apex. There is absolutely nowhere for Andy Rouse to go, but he pushes his way through, shakes his fist, and Rob Gravett, there he is. Half a car ahead, but that is not enough, and he pays the price. Copse Corner, Andy Rouse. And there is Rob, 2.5 seconds behind him, with Harvey absolutely with the red and white car in front. But that 2.5 seconds should be enough for Andy Rouse. Now here it is at Beckett's. There is the lead car. 2.5 seconds is a big lead for Rouse, but my goodness, there is no lead for Rob Gravett. Tim Harvey's getting closer and closer all the time as they come out of Chapel Curve, down the Hanger Straight. Harvey is in a Rouse-prepared Sierra, and they really fly. He dummies to the left, he goes to the right and attacks Rob Gravett. He's got the car alongside Gravett, he hits him. Rob Gravett's been hit again. Harvey goes through into second place. Rob Gravett just manages to hold the car, but he is down into third position. The champion designate. It's been a great first year for Vauxhall and for the Dave Cook Racing Team. There they are, and there is John's father, Bill, the team manager, as Cleland starts his last lap for his 11th win in 13 races and 12 fastest laps. An amazing achievement. Cleland on his way then. But Andy Rouse is almost home, almost a full lap ahead of Cleland into the complex. Lights blazing. This is it. Andy Rouse, appropriately number 1, wins the race and wins the class championship. Tim Harvey behind him in second place. In third position, the unfortunate Rob Gravett. Lawrence Bristow in fourth place. Chris Hodgetts fifth. And here's the fight for 6 with Guy Edwards and Mike Smith. Into the chicane. Edwards is going to take it in the blue and white car. Smith in 7th place. And John Clark loses it. And I should think the car was alarmed with that. Clark chews up the Silverstone turf over the rumble strip, back onto the track to do his last lap. Meantime, almost home to win the British Touring Car Championship of 1989, John Cleland in his Vauxhall Astra 16 valve. A very potent combination indeed in their first season of touring car racing. And a very happy team. A very happy team, a very happy combination, and an even happier John Cleland. Well done, John.
Celebration then, and controversy. The controversy in Class A. Andy Rouse named provisional winner. Rob Gravett immensely aggrieved after that coming together at Woodcote. This is Rouse's version.
We came up through Abbey there. He was quite a distance back, and then as we sort of come up to the braking point to go into the chicane there, he's right alongside me and pushed in on the inside, and then cut across the front of me, so I had nowhere to go. So I mean, I went all over the curbs and all the rubbish anyway, which was a big risk to me as far as damaging the car was concerned and the all cutters. But I mean, I had no choice but to hit him. I mean, there's just nowhere for me to go. It was exactly the same as Sittner and Weaver earlier in the season. They did exactly the same thing. Yeah. And you know, he was a bit hasty really. If he just bided his time, he'd have been there with a crack at the end, you know. But really, as far from my point of view, it was his fault, you know, and it almost screwed up my race as well.
It's been a hard-fought series, a hard-fought championship. Was that incident simply typical of that?
No, it wasn't. I think it was at the end of a very good racing season. I think it's a sad note to finish on that. I don't think it's necessary to drive like that, and I don't think I will change my driving style. I believe it is a non-contact sport because it's dangerous. I mean, we're travelling at very, very fast speeds, and you know, you can hurt people like that. But then that's another story, isn't it?
The main story is that Scotland's John Cleland claims the overall SO British Championship. Vauxhall beat BMW, but was Cleland's delayed start a problem or a well-thought-out plan?
Sometimes when you rev this little Astra up, it won't select a gear properly, you get too many revs on the clock, and I think that's what I did for the first couple of chances. And then when I realised that all the BMWs were passing me, I thought it was maybe a better idea under the circumstances to just stay out of trouble. And then I had to let too many cars pass because I then couldn't rejoin position. So it seemed at the end of the day a safer thing to do. I spent all year staying out of the way of BMWs, and I figured that I was in the pack, and it was maybe better to sort of steer clear of the trouble.
There was no element of a predetermined plan.
Oh,
to
not
stay
at
out
all.
of the
Not
BMW.
at all.
You were a little bit worried about that before.
Yes, well, James Weaver's mechanics tried to lock me in the truck before the race, so I knew there was a plan afoot somewhere.
So the 1989 British Championship ends in Champagne and the appeal court. 6 months now to knock out all the dents before it all starts again in a new and even more competitive formula.